Welcome everybody. Today we are having Maurizio Ripepe from the University of Florence with us, and they recently published a study in Nature Communications where they are investigating a tsunami from Stromboli volcano in Italy. So in July 2019 there was a eruptive event on Stromboli Volcano which triggered a 6 to 8 kilometer high eruptive column that then at some point collapsed and in turn triggered a pyroclastic density current that entered the Mediterranean Sea. And this again triggered a small tsunami, small meaning that the wave height was about 1 to 2 meters high. So I think my first question would be, how do you measure such a tsunami with your monitoring system? And in particular, how do you distinguish such tsunami waves from other waves that are just created by the wind?
Okay, yeah, this was the first problem we had to face. We started to there have been we made several we tried several technical solutions to solve those problems. The most used one is to record tsunami from the sea surface, and then you filter out the normal sea wave. But the instrument that we use, because the sea is so rough in front of the Charles de Foucault, we were measuring waves up to 9 meters. Okay, 9 meters. So it will be peak to peak. It will be almost 18 meters of wave. So the normal system does not resist too long to such rough sea. So we use what we call it elastic beacons. Elastic beacons is not a normal buoy. The positive buoyancy body is underwater. So the instruments that we use to record tsunami are placed on the seabed at 50 meters below the sea surface. At such depth, we use the physical phenomena which is called dispersion of surface wave. So in other words, the sea waves, the normal sea waves generated by the wind, are attenuated by the thickness of the sea. And at the end, what we record at the seabed are only periods which have the same period, a period which are longer than the normal sea waves and are within the band of the tsunami. Just to give you an example, if you have a rough sea on the sea surface, a rough sea, I mean waves of 4 meters, at 50 meters deep, we measure only a few centimeters. So in other words, we use the surface, the dispersion of surface waves as a filter. So to filter out everything that is outside the tsunami, normal tsunami period. So I don't know if I answer. In other words, how do we solve the problem? It's only placing the instruments at the seabed, so 50 meters below the sea surface, and using this dispersion, natural dispersion in surface waves.
Okay, yeah, thanks. This totally makes sense, and I think it's quite clear to understand. So my follow-up question on this would be that in your paper you described that the tsunami triggered by this event was around 1 meter high. This, of course, does sound very small compared to other tsunamis we hear about in the media. So can you elaborate a bit more what the potential hazard of such a small tsunami is, both in near field to the Stromboli coast, but also further away to the surrounding islands or to the Italian or Sicilian coast?
Okay, the tsunami that we recorded. Okay, first of all, you have to imagine that we installed the first instrument in 2008, I think. Yes, 2008, and since 2019, for 11 years, we were not recording tsunami at all. But the mandate, the reason why we are measuring tsunami in front of Stromboli is because in 2002, at the end of December 2002, there was large flank collapse, not large, medium-sized flank collapse, some millions of cubic meters, which generated 10 meters wave in Stromboli. And this propagated in 20 minutes to the Sicily coast, and there were damages also in the Sicily coast. But you have to think that the potential failure, the potential tsunamigenic of Stromboli, of the Sciara del Fuoco, it's much larger than this. So we in the past time we had 200 millions of cubic meters going into the sea, and the wave were much higher. And we have evidence of damages done in the Napoli Gulf. The mandate that we had from the civil defense is to have a system that should record the tsunami and give an alert as soon as possible. So for us, this means that we are able to detect the tsunami as soon as the tsunami forms, because we have only 3-4 minutes to alert people in Stromboli. We have no more than 15-20 minutes to alert people in Sicily and the rest of the other islands. So the reason why the system is so sensitive, okay, is not because a small tsunami or tsunami as small as the one we recorded in 2019 can produce some effect on the coast, but it's because the system has to be so sensitive to be able to pick the tsunami as soon as it forms. So the system we are operating at the moment, for example, just to give you an example of the tsunami in 2019, the period of the tsunami is around 50-60 seconds. Okay, so it means that you need to wait 2 minutes before the tsunami it forms and before the system records the tsunami. But the system we have is detecting the tsunami as soon as it forms. So we give an alert only tens of seconds, 10 seconds or 15 seconds after the onset. Okay, so and the only reason to have such a sensitive system is because we have a very short time to alert people along the Stromboli coast. So just to come back to your question, there was no effect on the Stromboli coast in 2019, but this was a sort of test of sensitivity of the instrument. So we are quite confident that if there will be a tsunami larger than a couple of meters, we will be able to give an alert in a few seconds.
Yeah, thank you. This does make perfect sense. So when we're looking at the monitoring network that's now installed offshore Stromboli, how does this network differ from other tsunami monitoring and early warning networks that are installed elsewhere in the world, like offshore Japan or in the greater Pacific area, that are mostly there to monitor tsunamis that are triggered by tectonic events?
Yeah, the philosophy is completely different. The strategy is different. In the sense that after the big tsunami in 2004, the Sumatra tsunami, there have been a lot of research done and also development of new technology to be able to have an efficient early warning system for tsunami generated by earthquake. And the general strategy is that the pre-alert is given by the earthquake itself. So the system that are running now in the Pacific or in the Atlantic are mainly based or are mainly triggered by the earthquake itself. So first we need to record an earthquake. Then we have to decide if this earthquake, according to the focal mechanism of the depth of the earthquake, can be the position also of the earthquake, can be able to generate a tsunami. Then there are the buoys. And the buoys, then we calculate which is the propagation. So when the tsunami should arrive at the coast, and then the buoy are used only to confirm the tsunami has been formed or not. So in other words, we do not have, in the case of volcano, the coast is too close and the time is too short. And quite often we have no big earthquake recorded by large network. So the system that we are using in Stromboli is fully automatic. So does not require to record an earthquake, okay, to give a pre-alert. And we cannot, we have no time to run models to calculate when the tsunami will impact the coast, because the cost is too close and the time is too short. So the difference that between our system and the other system is that the system that we use in Stromboli is fully automatic. So it's unsupervised. So we trust the instrument, and the alert is given without having an earthquake, okay? Because generally there is no earthquake. There is a seismic signal, but this seismic signal is cannot be used as a pre-alert. And even though the time delay between the seismic signal and the generation of the tsunami is very short, so we are not gaining any time in terms of providing alert and warning to population. I don't know if I answered to your question.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. It, as you say, basically comes down to two methods or two approaches of how to detect and monitor a tsunami. So yeah, thank you. So I think my final question would be towards the implications of your work. So in your study, you write that this, let's call it a pilot project, which you have installed at Stromboli, should also be installed at other locations, at other volcanoes globally where such PDCs, or let's say small flank collapses, can happen and trigger tsunamis. So I'm wondering how transferable is your monitoring network? How easy is it to install it elsewhere? And also, can it be implemented into already existing early warning networks at other volcanoes?
So clearly the system we are using on Stromboli, it implies that every volcano that can generate a tsunami should have a proper system. Okay, so there is nothing strange in the system we are using in Stromboli, and you could duplicate the system. Also, you can export it. Okay. There is also something that it's the peculiar. What is peculiar on tsunami generated by volcano is that the period of the tsunami it's shorter respect to the period of the tsunami generated by earthquake. So what we know, for example, the period of the tsunami we recorded at Stromboli, it's very similar to the period of the tsunami generated by Anak Krakatau in 2018. So we are talking of periods around 50 and 120 seconds, which are much shorter than periods generated by the tsunami. So this means that you can have a system like the one we have at Stromboli also in front of other volcanoes. So if this is what you want to know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you very much. So I think that's an important take-home message from the study, that the system is fully transferable and can be installed at any other volcano, and yeah, help the monitoring of tsunamis and improve the hazard mitigation at other sites. Yeah. Thank you very much for your time. I think we learned a lot today about an alternative approach of how to deal with the tsunami hazard, in particular at volcanic islands. But as we just found out, this can obviously apply elsewhere. Doesn't need to be an island. Can be any coast. And yeah, it will really. It can really help our pre-warning time and our potential evacuation time and warning we can give to people that are living at coasts that can be affected by tsunamis. So yeah, thanks for this very insightful discussion.
Thank you, Sebastian.
Yeah.